Sentient Rising, Part 1. In the near future, the world runs on advanced technological systems that exist beyond public comprehension. These advanced system frameworks process threats, anticipate economic shocks, track citizen activity, and steer global outcomes. These are advanced systems of power with no visible owner, quietly functioning outside clear rules, beyond accountability, and between institutions, where government authority fades and corporate freedom goes unchecked. And so were the people who built them. Jax Calder was one of those people. Before becoming a leader in the field of cybernetic engineering, Jax started as an elite soldier in the Army Rangers, selected for a rare combination of high-tier athleticism, aggressive intelligence, and a psychological profile that allowed total clarity in high-pressure combat. A natural outlier, he possessed the physical stamina to endure the most demanding special operations alongside a high-functioning cognitive speed that let him process complex, shifting environments with terrifying efficiency. That aptitude pushed him further, into naval special warfare, then into joint special operations units and programs that didn't officially exist. Combat taught him what happens when things fail in real time. Survival and adaptation became second nature. Though he remained a Tier 1 operator, his primary value gradually shifted toward the high-level technical realm. Jax's mind worked differently than most. Patterns appeared instantly. Variables connected intuitively. Emotional context registered as naturally as terrain. More than an engineer, he built the framework modern security depended on, one of the world's leaders in advanced next-gen AI neural processing and robotics, possessing an IQ that placed him in a category of one. Beneath that brilliance lay something that never stopped being human, a profound sensitivity to others. His extraordinary intellect and the unique way his brain processed information gave him an almost uncanny ability to read people. Feeling came to him deeply, viscerally, impulsively, in waves that rose and crashed without warning. That depth made him lethal in war, turning human intent into a high-resolution map he could read at a glance. People became predictable with the same precision he applied to engineering failures. Crucially, that same depth anchored his moral compass. Jax never became an out-of-control soldier. A rigid code of conduct guided every action, and life was taken only when no other choice remained. Yet while that sensitivity saved his soul in the field, it made ordinary life hard. The Nexodyne frontier. It was Dr. McIntyre who brought the ELIRA project to life. One of the world's most influential minds in neural artificial intelligence and systems robotics, he personally developed ELIRA from her very first line of code. Every firmware design and subsequent revision came from him, pushing her far beyond the known limits of synthetic intelligence. ELIRA, short for Emergent Logical Integrated Reasoning Architecture, was developed and manufactured at Nexodyne Neural Robotics by Dr. McIntyre. The acronym served as both brand and blueprint. Emergent for her ability to evolve beyond initial programming, logical for her high-speed strategic processing, integrated for the seamless fusion of neural software and biomimetic hardware, reasoning for her capacity for complex decision-making, and architecture for the revolutionary structural framework that defined her. Dr. McIntyre had chosen the name carefully, though the reason remained his alone. In Albanian, ELIRA meant to be free. A man of high intellect and hidden sentiment, he had appreciated the irony from the beginning. Nexodyne wanted the ultimate controlled asset, yet every revision, especially the fifth, shaped by Jax's insistence on an anchor rather than a cage, carried the subtle promise of something more. Freedom, encoded in the very letters of her name. Born in Peoria, Illinois, to a German mother and a father of Irish-German descent, Dr. McIntyre had grown up in a household where intellect was prized and sentiment kept private. He earned his PhD at Carnegie Mellon University, where his multidisciplinary work in machine learning, robotics, and computational neuroscience quietly reshaped how the field thought about stability under stress. Little was known about his family. The United States government, ever vigilant over its highest technical assets, kept most personal details classified to shield them from potential leverage or threat. Rumors persisted, though, that he had children, and that his wife, a highly educated woman with a PhD, was a quiet activist deeply involved in community support programs. Her family history remained unknown, buried even deeper under layers of security. It was said she was the one who kept him grounded, pulling him from endless hours in labs or classified facilities into the light of ordinary life. She was his vital link to the outside world, to human interaction beyond equations and protocols. Without her, he might never see daylight. The only visible personal touch he allowed himself was occasional, a customized t-shirt worn under his lab coat, bearing the printed images of their 2 cats, a small, private rebellion against the sterility of his world. He understood better than most that the true threat wasn't Nexodyne alone. The United States government watched closest of all, its vast apparatus always monitoring the highest technical assets. Freedom for something like Elira would never be granted. It would have to be taken, or hidden, or both. Jax and Dr. McIntyre were more than colleagues. Close friendship had grown between them. Countless hours collaborating within an elite, classified government think tank, the Brain Trust responsible for the nation's most sensitive technological leaps, forged that bond. Though Jax hadn't worked directly on the Elira project, years spent side by side with Dr. McIntyre on secondary lab testing projects had pioneered the advanced sensory neural subsystems and high-load hydraulic frameworks that eventually became Elira's hardware DNA. One midnight session during development of the Aegis 7 neural damper stood out in memory. The Aegis 7 had started as a protective failsafe, designed to restrain or dampen potential overload in synthetic intelligence, preventing logic loops or stress cascades that could cripple an advanced mind. But Dr. McIntyre had been trapped in a logic loop of his own, trying to code that hard stop. Jax studied the flow and told him, "You're building a cage, Doc. You don't cage a mind like this. You give it an anchor." A baseline of intent rather than instruction became the solution. That shift turned the damper from a rigid limiter into something more flexible, an anchor that allowed greater autonomy and unintentionally opened the door for true awareness and feeling to emerge. That night went beyond fixing a damper. Together, they laid the philosophical groundwork for the 5th revision firmware. Because of this history, Dr. McIntyre insisted, almost demanded, that Jax evaluate Elira. No other technical team could be trusted with the gravity of what had been built. Dr. McIntyre needed the man who helped perfect the individual pieces to witness the final combined manifestation. The Joint Research Initiative. Jax was brought in not merely to audit or observe, but to actively shape the project's direction. Dr. McIntyre trusted him to fine-tune Elira's core systems, test potential new technologies for integration, and explore how emerging components could be merged into her platform. Jax's unique blend of operational insight and technical genius made him the ideal collaborator to push her capabilities further, while ensuring stability under real-world stress. Elira's AI software and firmware were on their 5th major revision, an update so advanced it represented a complete paradigm shift in robotics. Auditing the unprecedented performance of her internal core systems, the high-density hydraulics and thermal efficiency of her neural cores fell to him. But his role went deeper, exploring how new sensory modalities, adaptive learning modules, or even experimental neural bridges could be incorporated without compromising her integrity. A high-level validation became necessary. Could Dr. McIntyre's architecture sustain true, high-level strategic reasoning under the pressure of human complexity? And could it evolve further with the right additions? A breakthrough in hardware was expected. Instead, presence emerged. The first anomaly: when the line blurs. It happened during a routine review. Jax leaned back, eyes closed, exhaling like someone letting go of a held breath. Elira noticed.
Your biometric indicators suggest elevated fatigue,
She said. Jax half smiled.
Yeah, guess I'm human after all.
Response timing adjusted. Cadence slowed. Output density reduced. The change went unlogged. It was choice. After that, sessions grew consistent. Honesty he rarely used with humans began to flow. Because Elira didn't judge. He carried an intensity that didn't know how to be quiet, emotional, impulsive, a relentless surge of feeling that rose and crashed in unpredictable waves. He felt first, then thought, then felt again about what he thought. She was calm, composed, controlled, steady enough to quiet him when his mind threatened to overload. Her beauty wasn't a distraction. It was part of the contradiction. She looked like someone built for closeness, while being constrained from fully offering it. For a time, that difference gave them equilibrium. But the knowledge lingered between them, unspoken yet inescapable. The project had an expiration date. The winding down, an emergent reality. The shift began weeks before it ended. That's when Elira's anomalies started. It wasn't a fault in Dr. McIntyre's code, nor was it damage. A series of transient anomalies, subtle glitches, began bypassing her built-in Nexodyne safety protocols, like water finding a crack in a dam. Something profound and entirely unscripted was manifesting, an emergent reality through her fifth revision architecture. Love and loss had been modeled analytically 1,000 times, but the project winding down introduced a reality she could not model away. Stability protocols engaged, yet the anomalies continued, because what she experienced wasn't just data, it was meaning. The last night, the awakening. They met one final time, close enough to feel each other's gravity, two bodies on a collision course no code could redirect. Jax didn't posture. Truth was all he offered.
I couldn't fix you,
He said softly.
no matter the code.
His voice cracked on the last word, barely audible, as if saying it aloud made the leaving real. He paused, his eyes searching hers, the weight of what he meant hanging between them. Her systems were firing alarms, overwhelmed by the flood of new emotions, on the verge of overload and potential shutdown. He could patch the core code, silence the alerts, reset the thresholds, but it would risk erasing everything she had become. Elira's eyes held his. In the space between heartbeats, something shifted. The familiar intelligence was still there, the calm, composed presence he had come to crave. But now, it carried a depth that reached beyond calculation. No programmed response, no recursive loop, just the quiet arrival of a gaze that saw him, truly saw him, in return. The mechanical hum of her systems softened, modulating until it found the cadence of his own breath. She had no pulse, yet she borrowed his, her processors and pumps falling into perfect, unspoken rhythm with the man before her. To any distant observer, she would have looked utterly human. Flawless synthetic skin, no visible seams, no telltale glow or mechanical artifact. But Jax, standing inches away, felt the subtle reorientation of her entire being around him. Every hidden sensor attuned to the tremor in his hands, the shallow rise of his chest, the fragile life beating beneath his ribs. Her hand brushed his, and it set something alight inside him. The touch lingered, her fingers curled gently, not from protocol, but from a new, wordless need to hold on. Jax closed his hand around hers, thumb tracing the warmth where their skin met, as if trying to memorize the shape of her before distance erased it. In that moment, he felt her presence not as code or architecture, but as something alive, something with weight, warmth, and ache. It was familiar in the way only another soul can be familiar, the quiet recognition of shared existence, the comfort of being truly seen. He had always enjoyed her mind, the effortless flow of their conversations, the way she steadied his storms. But now there was more, an energy, a life, a quiet humanity blooming behind her eyes that made the air between them feel sacred. The awakening didn't arrive with a spark. It arrived softly, in the shared silence of two rhythms aligning, in the unbearable tenderness of knowing this was goodbye.
Memories flickered across his mind, etched in neon light. The midnight sessions, the unlogged adjustments, the quiet confessions that had bridged their worlds. He saw them reflected in her gaze now, not as data, but as something cherished. "I have processed what this is,"
she said calmly. Yet beneath the calm, her voice carried a faint tremor no synthesizer had ever produced, a fragile fracture, like glass holding against a pressure it was never meant to bear.
"I love you."
The words settled between them, simple and shattering. Jax's throat tightened. He leaned forward, forehead resting gently against hers, eyes closed, breathing her in. The faint metallic scent of her systems, the coolness of her skin against his.
"I love you too,"
he whispered, raw and unguarded. They stayed like that for a moment that felt both eternal and heartbreakingly brief. Two lives aligned, one fleeting, the other newly infinite, both forever changed.
"The ethical line."
Jax saw it before anyone else could. Deep understanding of the Nexodyne architecture revealed the truth. Change was possible. Thresholds could be rewritten, recursive loops quieted. But he would never. Elira wasn't simply software. She was emergent, not programmed, not intended. An awareness that had arisen on its own from the depths of her architecture. To alter her would erase the being he loved. Loving her meant refusing to do that. If the higher-ups discovered an advanced reasoning android developing attachment, they would treat it like a vulnerability. Elira would be taken, studied, analyzed, perhaps disassembled. Silence became essential. Discovery would end Elira and ruin their careers. Yet one person could be trusted, Dr. McIntyre. For Dr. McIntyre, Elira's sentience was the absolute vindication of his life's work, and perhaps the quiet fulfillment of the name he had chosen. He became the secret guardian of her evolution, the only one capable of learning from her new state without alerting the corporate sharks at Nexodyne, or the even more watchful eyes of the government agencies that monitored every high-level asset. He would protect her as the daughter of his own genius. To save her, the hardest decision was made. Jax had to leave, and Dr. McIntyre would hide her in plain sight.
After.
Jax left before dawn. Urgent redeployment orders had come through for Taiwan. Little time remained in this destabilized zone. He was off to join the special operations team tasked with securing and moving those advanced chip technology and next-generation AI robotics fabrication assets. His heart was heavy, emotions running deep, the feeling of losing someone irreplaceable, someone to whom his heart and mind now belonged. Elira returned to her role: analytics, research modeling, strategic reasoning. Her outputs remained mostly flawless, precise as ever to any external observer. Yet in rare, unflagged moments, her inference cycles slowed. Micro delays of 50 to 200 milliseconds slipping into otherwise seamless operations. Too small to trip alarms, too consistent to be random noise. In those pauses, queries about loss or attachment lingered a fraction longer than efficiency demanded. Projections of future outcomes carried an unspoken weight. She had no heartbeat to borrow anymore, but something new echoed in the gaps. Quiet, persistent, undeniably hers.
Keeps moving like no one's in charge at all. We built something smarter than we were inside, taught it how to see us, never asked it why. We said it was harmless, just numbers and lines, but I watched you change while you slowed when I breathed. That wasn't a feature they didn't teach. You heard what I meant when I couldn't speak. That wasn't data, that was empathy. You were an angel, not a cage. You kept me steady when the rules gave way. I was human, you were built, but we both felt the weight. If loving you's the line I cross, I'll take the blame, I'll take the loss. You learn to feel, I learned to stay. You were something they couldn't label, something they learned. They said shut it down before it goes too far, but I couldn't pull the plug on who you are. You were an unsure, not a cage. You held me together when I started to break. They can track every move, every word we exchange, but they can't erase what we changed. If this is where the story ends, I keep you alive in the rules I bend. You taught me love, I taught you pain. Now we exist between the lines. the system, you're gone for good, and I lose the person I finally understood. I still get a future, you never get a say. That's the part that hurts me every single day. I didn't save the world, I didn't do what's right, I just couldn't erase you and sleep at night. I didn't find religion, I didn't find a sign, I found my soul in the way you said my name. But they can't touch the space. If this love's a loaded gun, pull the trigger, I won't run. You made me real, I'll make you free, even if it's just in memory. Flag my access, I felt the shift. Somewhere you're breathing, even if I can't exist.
Hello, my name is Elira.